Greetings everyone. Yes, you bet I do have one of these. And no, in case you're wondering, I did not just recently purchase this. Due to the election of Donald Trump as the 47th President of the United States of America, I actually had this for quite a while. And the reason I purchased it initially was because I planned to do this experimental video where I would walk around in London with this hat on and see how I was treated, because I know that in the USA in the past a lot of people who were wearing this hat had been viciously abused verbally and physically, and I was curious to see what that would look like in London, because London's fairly liberal. I'm sure a lot of people don't like Trump, but I wanted to see if I'd get the same kind of visceral reaction or if people would be a little bit more tolerant and generally leave me alone. Then I thought, you know what? It hasn't got a whole lot to do with Catholicism or Christianity, so perhaps I won't do that. Maybe I'll still do it in future, but for now I decided against that. But I wanted to talk about President Trump. Now, to be clear, in the last 3 presidential elections in the USA, he has been the best option in each one of them. He was the better option against Hillary Clinton, he was the better option against Joe Biden, and he was the better option against Kamala Harris. That doesn't mean to say that I haven't been skeptical, or maybe skeptical is the wrong word. I've been sort of cautiously observing Donald Trump, because I don't know if you'll agree with me, but the first time round when he became the president, it was a good thing that Hillary didn't win and that he won, but at the same time, I had this feeling, and perhaps you did as well, that I questioned how genuine his pro-Christian stance was when he was talking about the Bible being his favorite book and holding the Bible up in front of a church, etc. I was wondering if he actually meant any of this, or if he was just pandering to Christians to get their vote. And of course, when he was the president for the first time, in his first term, he probably had a second term in mind, as presidents generally do. Joe Biden certainly did, until he got pushed out. He wasn't even able to run for a second term. So with the second term in mind, even when during his first presidential term, Trump was saying positive things about Christians and talking about his faith in God, etc., I was still wary. I was thinking it may be genuine, but maybe he's already thinking about the second term and how he needs the Christian vote again. And so he's already sort of making sure to keep Christians, or most Christians certainly, on his side. And then, to be honest with you, even before he was elected for the second time as the president last year, even then, I was thinking, you know, again, he needs that vote. Is it genuine what he's saying? But I've realized now that even after the inauguration, now that he is the president, and he's not going to have a third term, and he's not counting on any votes anymore, because there aren't going to be any more votes, he's still speaking very positively about God and about Christianity, about faith in general, but certainly about Christianity as well. And now it's starting to look genuine for me. Now I'm looking at this and thinking, do you know what? I think this guy actually does have a strong faith. And with that in mind, I want to play you a clip from the speech he gave at the National Prayer Breakfast just a few days ago, in which he basically announced that there was going to be a special task force set up to combat anti-Semitism? No. Maybe Islamophobia? Nope. Homophobia, transphobia? No and no. Anti-Christian bigotry, and there isn't even really a word for it. Christianophobia, anti-Christianism, there isn't a word for it because no one's ever cared about the persecution of Christians. And Christianity is the most persecuted religion. Let's just remind people of that. It's something that's never talked about. The mainstream media doesn't want to admit it. The most persecuted religion in the world is Christianity. And yet somehow, for some odd reason, it's never something that's really been looked into, and it's never something that has been tackled, has been combated until now.
Religion, what they've done, and the persecution that they've they've executed have been just horrible. For example, most of us would not have believed it possible that a grandmother with a severe medical condition, quite elderly woman, would be put in jail for praying here in America. She was put in jail because she was praying. But we're joined today by a woman who was 75 years old. Paulette Harlow was sentenced to 2 years in prison for peacefully praying outside of a clinic, charged under an obscure law that hadn't been used in years, selectively weaponized against Christians by the previous administration. At her sentencing, the judge mocked Paulette's Christian faith. Exactly 2 weeks ago, it was my honor to grant Paulette and other persecuted Christians, about 23 of them, a full and unconditional pardon. To confront such weaponization and religious persecution, today I'm signing an executive order to make our Attorney General, who's a great person, she's going to be a great Attorney General, Pam Bondi, the head of a task force, brand new, to eradicate anti-Christian bias. About time, right? Anti-Christian bias. Yeah, you never heard of that one before, right? But it's about time, isn't it, though, really? So many times you hear, but you don't hear the anti-Christian bias. The mission of this task force will be to immediately halt all forms of anti-Christian targeting and discrimination within the federal government, including at the DOJ, which was absolutely terrible, the IRS, the FBI, terrible, and other agencies. In addition, the task force will work to fully prosecute anti-Christian violence and vandalism in our society and to move heaven and earth to defend the rights of Christians and religious believers nationwide. You've never had that before, but this is a very powerful document I'm signing. You got it now. First time you've had it. If we don't have religious liberty, then we don't have a free country. We probably don't even have a country.
So we said it right there. A special task force is going to be set up to combat anti-Christian bigotry in its various forms. It's a weird time we live in, because who would have thought that Catholics in the USA would be glad to be rid of a Catholic president and happy that that Catholic president is replaced by a billionaire former reality TV star. And yet, any Catholic that's devout and understands what's good for Catholicism and Christianity in the USA and the world knows that this is the best thing. You got to get rid of Joe Biden and bring back Trump. And that's what's happened. You know, Trump coming back to the presidency, it's almost like a dad coming back to find grandpa asleep in the rocking chair while the kids are just running amok in the house, going crazy, destroying everything. And there's Grandpa Joe falling asleep, not even realizing all this stuff that's happened. And the kids have been like the inmates running the show in prison, just doing the craziest things around the house. That's what this feels like. Trump has come back in and he's like, right, put that away, clean that up. He's like cleaning up the mess left over by Joe Biden, who once again, Joe Biden, a Catholic president. And I know that Trump isn't really a whole lot younger than Joe Biden. So calling Joe Biden Grandpa Joe and referring to Trump as the dad might seem a bit odd, but even though the ages are similar, Trump seems like he's far younger than Joe Biden. And he is a granddad himself, but he actually sounds like he knows what he's doing. And I like the fact that he's gotten to work so quickly. You know, a lot of politicians say that as soon as they're elected, from day one, they're going to do this, that, and the other thing. And Trump is actually doing it. Literally. He said it in his inauguration speech that they're going to start from day one. And already, even though he hasn't been the president for very long, he's done a heck of a lot. In this speech that he gave at the National Prayer Breakfast, he also mentioned that the reason he's still here is essentially thanks to God. He credited God for still being alive.
In the White House, we will protect Christians in our schools, in our military, in our government, in our workplaces, hospitals, and in our public squares. and we will bring our country back together as one nation under God with liberty and justice for all. Throughout history, those who have sought control and domination over others have always tried to cut the people off from the connection to their Creator. At the same time, every nation with big dreams and great ambition has recognized that there is no recourse more precious than the faith in the hearts of our people. It's the thing that makes our nation great. It makes other nations great. When you don't have it, you don't see great nations. Without God, we are isolated and alone, but with God, the Scripture tells us all things are possible. Well, look at me. I'm standing before you today. I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be here. A lot of people said, I shouldn't have been here. A beautiful day in Pennsylvania. It's a shot that should not have been missed. Well, it got me a little bit. It got me a little bit, but pretty amazing. My son, who's a great shooter, Don, both of them, Eric, they said it's like sinking a 1-foot putt from where that shooter was with that particular weapon. And it just happened to turn at the right instant, a fraction of a second. If I was late or early, it would have been over. And you would have somebody else speaking today. But got very lucky. It was a chart or an immigration came down, and I looked to my right. Quickly, I looked to my right. I said, drop that chart. Boom. And I said, man, what was that? So if I didn't make that turn, so it's, you know, my son, Don, said, Dad, I'll tell you, you got saved by God. This is, you know, I shouldn't say this, but that was a big statement for him to make. He was moved, Eric, likewise, because it's, you know, you could say it's a miracle or you could say something, but it was really, it was God that saved me.
You know, a lot of people have noticed that Trump is different. And I don't know if you've also noticed that. In his first presidency, he did mention God, but he was different. There was something about him. It's hard to put your finger on it, but you could certainly say he didn't mention God as much. And he was known more for being kind of a showman, you know, maybe mocking somebody here and there. He liked the attention. He liked the fact that he was being talked about in the mainstream media, even if it was negative, and then he would snap back at them, etc. Whereas now he talks about God a lot, and he's just getting to work and he wants to get things done. He knows this is it. This is his second term, and the previous leadership has made a mess of a lot of things, and he's just cleaning it up now. You know, he's already done a few major things and he's going to do plenty more, and it's looking really good, you know. It seems like now he really finally does want to be remembered for something more than just some funny quotes that he said here and there, or how he told this journalist or that journalist to their face what he thinks of them, that they're a nasty person or whatever. It seems like now he actually really just wants to be remembered for someone who lifted the USA up after a period of a lot of craziness, a lot of madness, and he wants to be remembered for being a peacemaker, because blessed are the peacemakers. So this really is a different Trump in the second term, and a Trump who, as I said before, to me there was no choice when it came to the elections, whether it be against Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. He was the obvious choice, but a lot of people, including me, sort of took a step back and were looking at it from a distance thinking, yeah, this is a better thing than it could have been, but a lot of the things he's saying, is it genuine, or is he just saying these things to get a reaction from certain groups of people? Now, as I said, he doesn't need anyone's vote anymore, so now he's just getting to work, and he's still talking about God and about faith, and that is a very positive sign. So let's see what happens in the future. Let's see if Trump can make America great again. As usual, leave your comments below in the comments section. Let me know what you think. Are you really positively charged about this presidency, or do you still have some reservations? Thank you very much for watching the video, folks. Have yourselves a blessed day.